the Illinois, John Barr with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. I think we're joined here today with Margaret Decker with the Illinois Department of Labor. I think Allison Dixon with University of Illinois, and Brian Richard with the Northern Illinois University. So all kind of key program partners with this. So the purpose of today's session is to go over the specific information around this latest funding opportunity around the Quality Jobs Pilot Program. And so this is a new initiative that is supported by the governor and the directors of DCEO and Illinois Labor. And the goal is to expand the good jobs framework. So many of you may know, and actually there you probably have seen a webinar notice through the Workforce GPS that the U.S. Department of Labor is going to be providing some new information around this good jobs framework, right? So this is all about supporting career opportunities and jobs that are quality jobs, self-sustaining, good-paying jobs to sustain individuals and families. And so it's not just, as we've said in the workforce system, it's not just about getting any job. It's about getting a good job. And so this pilot, the purpose is to explore how the workforce system can better promote quality jobs or good jobs. We're kind of using good and quality jobs interchangeably, right? And so as part of the governor's analysis around the workforce system, this was something that came out of that as something to address. And given the fact that the U.S. Department of Labor had a framework in place, we thought that this was a great opportunity to move forward and pilot some activities that can be shared and ultimately improve the workforce system across all partners, Title I and others as well. So the U.S. Department of Labor describes the characteristics of a good job, including intentional hiring practice, pay and benefits that allow workers to support their families, DEIA efforts that address systemic barriers to advancement, job security practices that protect workers from arbitrary or discriminatory practices or dismissal, supporting places where there is a culture where workers belong, are valued, contribute to the overall organization, and there's opportunities for advancement, right? So, obviously, within a tight labor market, these are things that also go toward a company's ability to retain and attract a quality workforce, for their purposes of being competitive. So there's benefits both for the workers and also for the employers with this, and that's the intent, is not to have a to have a nice balance focused on the efforts. So the goals and outcomes, right? So we are looking through this NOFO to identify a pilot group, potentially 2 to 4 applications or areas that would help us pilot. And this project would include training frontline staff on industry-specific labor standards, and we'd use experts to help us do that, right? So we would use Allison Dixon with the University of Illinois. They have a whole group that has done these types of analysis and training. So that is kind of our vision for the training resource and the kind of our content or subject matter experts, if you will. And then also identifying and analyzing data out of all of this. So again, we are not just running a pilot to run a pilot. The idea is to help impact and improve the workforce system, identify those best practices. So that's why we have Brian Richard with Northern Illinois to help us identify some data points and also evaluation opportunities, and also look at the practical aspects of all of this. Again, not just doing evaluation for evaluation's sake, but looking at what has worked, what doesn't work, and what needs to be improved to be effective. So that's all part of the overarching project. Also included in the project is to work with individuals, right? So your customers, so job seekers. So, what are some strategies that we can provide as a workforce system, to help, build their skill sets and identifying a good job opportunity. Again, helping those individuals not just pick up any job or the first job that they see, but identifying, well, what is a good job, right? What are those characteristics? And then what are strategies to use that, if you find yourself on the job and find yourself in a situation where you need to, have a conversation with the boss or management, what are some tools to help you within that conversation. All right. So as I mentioned, just at a high level, one of the first components is staff training and support, right? So we would be asking a participating local area to identify frontline staff members who would be trained, and they would be provided with information again, working with our University of Illinois partners in looking at those characteristics of quality jobs, right? They would go through, frontline staff would go through labor standards boot camp training and receive, those training materials to help them understand and talk to workers about their core rights, and their job options if they experience issues like discrimination, harassment, or wage theft. And then also staff would join in a job quality cohort that supports their development and helps them respond and think through questions and scenarios that are brought to them. So, should mention that all of this being a pilot, we want your local expertise and we want you to be true partners in all of this. So, we talked about our university partners. You would, and your teams would be our local implementation partners, right? We don't have the answers with this, and so we would need your help in developing and identifying, well, this worked, this worked really well, and this piece did not work at all. And so those are kind of the thought processes of where we are at. Next component is the participant training and support, right? So looking at those participants who would receive the right amount of information, right? We understand that job seekers that are going through, they're bombarded with a lot of information. They have a lot of balls in the air. They have life that is occurring all around them. And we have to identify and provide, again, or at least the thought is to identify and provide, information that would be useful. So additional tools in their toolbox as they go out into the working world, and helping them with some of those difficult decisions, right? Identifying the right job, identifying strategies if there are issues on the job. And then also, as we mentioned, kind of using those kind of qualitative data analysis tools to help them identify local areas, identify what are some of the trends, right? Some what do your placements look like? How can we move from kind of that, not to say quantitative to a qualitative, but this would be a tool to really take a second look at that qualitative placement, right? So again, not just placement in any job, but placement in a job that aligns with the training program, as well as a great career pathway or a good job career pathway for individuals. Data collection and analysis, as we mentioned, NIU is looking to develop surveys, that we could look to send to current and exited participants around their job to assess kind of where you're at. Um, Again, uh, part of any project is to identify, okay, based on these metrics, where is the local area? Where how is the area doing as it relates to those training? And once an individual may be trained, are they going into the occupation that they trained for, or are they taking just any employment, or employment that may not be related to that training, or training that may be maybe not the best fit. And so again, the intent here is to look at it in a positive light, right? Because this is something that analyze the need to analyze what is the current state and what is the ideal as it relates to, how can we support from a workforce system, how can we support individuals making those good decisions? Because we know that you, as a local area, and your career planners invest ton of time, money, and effort and care into providing the services to the job seekers, right? And so, if this is an additional tool to help those participants stay on that career path that you have helped them, fall into or to develop, um, you know that's part of the vision here, right? Is to make sure that those individuals don't fall off that plan, that they are following the steps that get them on the pathway to a career path that has a good quality, good paying job. um the final component is employer supports, right? Because we know that there's two sides of the equation, and that we know, on the negative side, right, that there are some bad actors out there. There are some employers that they see the, well, I'm going to squeeze every ounce of everything out of these workers, and to the point that they take advantage of workers, and potentially do things that are not within the law or within regulations. And this is not the intent here, is not to be a heavy stick. There are laws in place. Department of Labor is there for that, but this is really more of like kind of the carrot piece, right? So we started the conversation about, what are some of the practices and potentially incentives that the workforce system can provide to workers, not only workers but employers, right? In in supporting these efforts. So I know that many areas, it's you have difficult conversations, especially with employers that are asking you for services, job fairs or other placement services, and the employer can't understand, why can't we fill these positions? And you try to politely tell them, well, you can't fill these positions because you're not paying what the market will bear, and because your practices are out of tune with the overarching environment as it relates to flexibility and benefits and other core items. And so, part of this whole pilot is to also provide you with those types of strategies around those difficult conversations with employers. And for those that maybe need some legitimate support, how can you how can you support them with that? And not to say that any support isn't legitimate, but you understand what I'm saying, as far as providing some real tools, some actionable tools for employers to help improve the overall work environment, improve the benefits, which with the ultimate goal of improving their retention, improving their productivity and their overall bottom line. All right. So that's kind of the program design. Maybe I can pause there and see if there are any questions. Amy, I don't know if that is something we can do on this webinar or if it's only the chat.
We have two options. They can raise their hand and I can unmute them, or they can post that question in the chat.
Okay. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and or put it in the chat. If not, we'll just keep going.
And that virtual raise hand function is right there on the toolbar next to your show captions and apps if you'd like to raise your hand.
Okay. Didn't see any questions. Amy, did we see anybody raise their hand?
We did not.
All right, well, we'll keep going then. So the source of funding is State of Illinois funds. They are a pool of what we'll call JTED-backed funds. Total funding in this opportunity is $600,000 with a range of 100 to 200,000. We anticipate around 3 grantees. So we realize that the funding at the local level is about enough for one full-time equivalent with benefits and maybe some other activities. And that's really what we would envision the budget to support. And we're really looking for a local project or local area champion, right, to move the project forward. The project or the pilot that the state envisions, we're looking for kind of a northern Illinois, central Illinois, and southern. And so we will be kind of segmenting the applications that we receive into those areas. And, we are hoping to have at least 3 pilots. This is open only to local workforce areas, Title I-B administrators, but we would absolutely welcome and encourage your participation with the other core and required partners that you work with. So we definitely, both on the training side, so like the staff training, participant training, even the survey outreach. I think that the state is open to, analyzing not only the Title I-B programs, but other programs as well. So definitely encourage you to work with partners in this initiative. Application requirements. The intent here was to make this as straightforward as possible. Under our GATA requirements, we do have the uniform application, budget, and conflict of interest and mandatory disclosures. You have to submit that for any grants, even your formula grants. But the nuts and bolts for this application are outlined in the attachment A quality jobs application. And so we have a standard application, and I'm not sure. Let me stop this share so I can switch to this document. Here we go. All right, so hopefully you're seeing the application again. For most of you, this should be fairly familiar. It is includes just basic information about your organization, the local area, the executive summary, just a brief summary of the project in total, and then your technical proposal that focuses on the capacity, the need, the project plan, and then the cost effectiveness. So if an item is not applicable to your project or organization, or if there is a need to provide additional information, please feel empowered to do so. The intent here is not to have an exhaustive application, but to also show that you are committed to the project. The most important piece out of all of this as it relates to the weighting is the project quality, right? And so we want to know, and that's where I'll probably focus, or the review will focus on the kind of looking at, okay, what are the major components that we want to focus on, and that's the delivery of the staff training plan and the your participants training plan and support. Um, Also looking at your plans to make connections on the employer outreach side. um, Coordination with key partners, as I mentioned, is an important plus. And then any other documents, right? So this is the catch-all for the application. We're open to any additional attachments or appendices that you think are applicable to point to in your narrative. Again, we're not looking for war and peace on this application. We're just looking for kind of that assurance that yeah, you're committed and that this is your initial plan. We know that the plan is going to evolve because the pilot is going to evolve. And that's, from our perspective, that's the whole point of the pilot, is to learn what's going to work and what's not going to work, and provide those resources both with NIU and University of Illinois to do exactly that. Okay, so let me just switch back to the presentation now, and just to discuss the criteria, as I mentioned. Project quality and the capacity to get this done are the most heavily weighted, and the applications as I also mentioned, will be segmented in the northern, central, and southern part of the state. We're going to review these in pretty short order, and then we'll identify those areas that will be part of the pilot. We may need to connect back with you and request some additional information as part of that process, but I think many of you are aware that's it will follow those standard procedures as well. Here's the timeline for all of this. So we're having the presentation today. We are looking for the first cutoff to be March 1st, and then looking to make funding commitments by May 1st, with the project really to get kicked off, starting July 1 of 24 and then running for a full year. But this would be, kind of the planning period that we would work fairly intensively with University of Illinois, Allison, and Brian with NIU as well. Here are some resources. The link to the funding opportunity that's posted on the DCEO website, as well as the Department of Labor Good Jobs Initiative sites. There's some good resources that I'll just give you a peek at here. There we go. That is not. Oh, it was it. I'm going to get this technology. So hopefully you are seeing the Good Jobs Initiatives page, and then also Training and Employment Guidance Letter, or TEGL 722. There are links, in the notice of funding opportunity from this that outlines the Department of Labor's more complete framework of the characteristics of good jobs, and again, just talks about why this initiative is important. I was really happy, and so was Julio, that as we were putting this all together, that as I mentioned, the DOL has um, planned a webinar around this initiative, not our funding, but around this initiative, Thursday, February 15th. They're having the Job Quality Academy Starter Pack Part 1. So we're going to be definitely looking into this as part of the resources that we may rely on as part of this overall initiative. And again, I was so fortunate to have Allison Dixon and her team to be a part of all this, because they're definitely seen as some expert resources with these initiatives. And then for more information, definitely contact your regional manager or myself, and we'll be happy to connect you with resources that we have available, or answer any questions that you may have about the funding opportunity. All right. So that's the end of the formal presentation. I see that there may be a couple of questions in the chat, and we'll um, just take a look here. Um, okay, so let's see, if an apprenticeship sponsor, but you're not a local workforce area, then technically you would not be an eligible applicant under the funding opportunity. But I would encourage you to connect with your local workforce area that that is the most, I guess, closely associated with the geographic area in which you operate, and potentially you could, partner with the initiative. Oh, that's a great question. So are you looking for a single LWIA to participate, or could multiples come in? Yeah, we would definitely love to see multiple LWIAs partner together on this. Um, and again, I think that we would have some flexibility around the budget and how you might structure that. But so I think yes, the answer is yes. You could come in as a region, right? You could come in as a economic development region, or any other type of configuration. But just know that where we are really kind of envisioning, that kind of northern, central, and southern. Okay. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Maybe a good time to just also see if any other. I should have also pointed out our other regional managers are also on the line here. I know Annie, Brian, and Kelly. So thanks for joining as well. And just would if anyone has anything that you want to add, or anything that I may have missed, please raise your hand, and we definitely welcome you to say any words.
Kelly did just post in the chat that eligible applicants include local workforce innovation boards, and a link there. And I can promote each of them to a panelist if they'd like to accept, and then that way they can come over and speak if they'd like to.
Or if not, that's okay. I know, don't want to. Again, this is I think a really really great opportunity, to really move forward with um, initiatives around the kind of this qualitative piece, really digging into strategies, that the goal here after this pilot would be incorporated into some of our service delivery strategies throughout the state, not only with Title One, but other workforce partners as well. So if we don't have any questions or other comments, we'll give everyone back 25 minutes on a great Friday afternoon, at least up here in the northern Illinois area. It looks very nice out. So we'll give three more options to have questions. Going once, twice, three times. All right. Thank you all.